I'm Michael Reese.
And I'm Woods Davis.
And this is the Digital President Podcast.
We've cracked the code for generating customers online for every business model.
In fact, we wrote the book on it.
We've built multiple multi-million-dollar businesses in as little as 90 days. And the one truth that we discovered is
the best business model is doing what you love and living your life by strategy.
You truly can follow your passion and create the life of your dreams,
as long as you have the right strategy.
If you're a real estate agent and you'd like to learn how you can partner with us to help you implement our strategies and systems in your business so you can make a lot more money and have a lot more time freedom, all without ever paying us a penny or giving up a percentage of your commission, go to partnershipdetails.com and schedule a call with us today. While it's fresh in your mind, go to partnershipdetails.com. Now on to the podcast.
All right, so this is one of the most important, overlooked, underestimated topics. And man, so many people, if you're looking at getting started online, if you're looking at generating clients, if you want to really build a business where you attract people, then really getting congruency and dialing in your brand, your positioning statement is probably one of the most important exercises. And just go look at your social media profiles. Go look at how you appear on Instagram, how you appear on Facebook, your business page, your YouTube channel. All of that stuff is what people look up now these days. And today, myself, Michael Reese, and co-host Mr. Woods Davis, we're going to dive deep. And I don't think you could have two better people who've invested more time on this subject. We call it the rabbit hole because it's so important. And we know once we start, if you skip this step, it makes everything harder. So it is priority.
For sure, man. I think what's interesting is right out of the gate, you made the case for getting this right because you don't have a choice anymore. You have to nail down your personal brand, your positioning statement, make it super clear who you are, because now you are your digital self. You are your profile on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, your YouTube channel. So you're really forced to get clear and nail this down, at least if you want people to know exactly who you are and how you can help them.
Yeah, dude. And, there's a lot of great examples. I think, really explaining brand, it's easier to kind of go back and forth and, talk to some of the iconic brands and, explain to the audience here listening today, help make some connections. Because for me, it was easy. I remember, and still to this day, man, whether it's my nephew, whether it's me when I was a kid, when I see those golden arches, my parents would be driving down the highway, right?
Yeah.
And, they didn't have to say hamburger, French fries, shake. That means something to everybody. But if you think about McDonald's in general, right, they have a brand. They're known for being able to provide fast service. And, they built a brand with children specifically, right? And so, thinking about your brand when somebody looks at you. And this is something that's going to be important for our audience today. A lot of people that are listening to us, I know there's a lot of people that are looking for growing their business. And I want to point something out. One of the things that is in alignment with our brand, and it has been this way for a long time, was helping people get customers, right? That was something that we did. Specifically, when we wrote the book, Digital President, it was about creating freedom, but doing it through becoming an authority, and more specifically, becoming an authority around a topic with a purpose, right? And so for us, if you look at this light here, Life by Strategy, Life by Strategy was something very important to us. And I'm not saying that this is something that's done instantly. Brand is reality over time. Yeah. Right? When we came up with Life by Strategy, we recorded an actual episode. If you want to know what that means, we'll put a link to it here somewhere on the page, probably somewhere up in here. You can click it and go listen to it. But in a nutshell, it's about, doing the things that you're most passionate about. And there's little exercises. Like if you had to work every Sunday for the next 52 Sundays and you had to do it for free and helping a friend, or not getting paid until the customer got the result you were looking for. The purpose side of things was that you were doing meaningful work that was purposeful, and you were doing it because you were an authority on a topic. And I want to point that out because a lot of you aren't living your life by strategy right now. Your personal brand is really harnessed into something maybe you're not passionate about. Maybe you're in a situation where you're living transactionally. Maybe you're a person who is passionate about something and you have this vision for a product, maybe a vision for a book. When we wrote Digital President, our original goal was to help those individuals live their life by strategy, by creating freedom for themselves, by really learning how to become a digital president, meaning become a known person with authority on a topic that aligned, if you read, I believe it's chapter 7, which was the value exchange, that aligned to a methodology and a business model that you could leverage by monetizing and providing extreme value into the marketplace. Well, a lot of people listening to this, they're real estate agents. Some of these agents are going to be at your, big brands, right? And their big thing is, their big problem that they have is, they have the desire to maybe get more listings. They have a desire to build a team. They have a desire. For us, it was people who were seeking a better way. They were looking for growth. They were looking for opportunity. And when you look at it from our perspective, because we're helping agents, there's a lot of people out there due to the different business models, and it's no secret. I'm at eXp Realty. They have an amazing business model. A lot of people don't understand the brand. They don't understand what we saw, but we saw a way to actually live our life by strategy, by doing the things that we were already doing. We were helping agents build funnels. We were helping agents, when we say build a funnel, specifically build a business and attract customers and create conversion mechanisms and do it in a way that was outside of the traditional way. We wrote the traditional book, Inside Sales Predictability, that was still differentiated because it was getting predictability through a demand generation strategy, which is different than what's taught to the real estate agent and professional today, which is start here, do this, lay out your sphere. Even all of those things that they're important, they're all dependent on your time. And so for us specifically, we felt like, 17% of the time homes are on the market are Saturday, they're Sunday, 34% is a weekend. Instead of being a slave, right, to, okay, oh my gosh, I generated 100 leads. I got to go make 70 phone calls today. Maybe it's, I got to go do 3 open houses. Maybe I got to, all of that stuff is done intentionally with a funnel to build an audience so that, because our belief is that if you win the crowd, you win your freedom. And all of the things that I'm saying, we've talked through, we spent hours and hours. Your positioning statement for your real estate business, specifically the consumer facing, has to be clear. And so that's what we're going to talk to you guys about today. It's like, when somebody sees your brand, if you're just looked at as a real estate agent, which is totally fine, most people are, then when it comes to choosing you, you're going to be in competition with all the other real estate agents, even the young man or the young lady sitting next to him whose son's on their soccer team, whose mom or dad recently got a real estate license, or whose brother or sister, because nothing makes you different. And so we're going to give you a framework. We're going to give you really some of the questions that you need to be thinking about to nail down your positioning statement. And hopefully you understand the importance of this. I know that if I go to your Facebook business page, if we were looking at some yesterday of some people that we know that were doing a great job with their online marketing. And you know what? They had their brand dialed in. You could see it in the header, right, of their business page. You could see it in their pinned videos that were the very first post that you were see, that were videos that supported, that demonstrated. Some even provided multiple testimonials and proof with clear calls to action around what this person stands for. And the reason that's important is once you nail this, it's something that you want to integrate it. You want to use it in everything that you do, from your email signature to, your bio, to your description, to the about me, to your LinkedIn page, where when somebody looks at you, you're not just a person or a real estate agent. It's you provide a service in a differentiated way that's done at a way that's important to that customer. And you have a way to not only articulate that value, you can demonstrate it and make it visible to them.
Yeah, I think that one thing that's interesting is you have to obviously really be clear on getting a value proposition, as far as what your promise is to the marketplace. And in order to really understand your value proposition and how you're going to make a promise, some people call it a brand promise. All of these things are kind of interwoven to create a real brand strategy and for you to be able to create your positioning statement. But I think you really have to get clear first and foremost about who you serve and not be so concerned about trying to serve everybody, but really just serving, the group of people that you can add the most value to and that you can help achieve a very specific result. Like, what do you think, Michael, like when agents, are they don't really have a real targeted focus and they're just kind of, hey, I'm a real estate agent. It seems to me like that's just one of the biggest problems starting right out of the gate, is just trying to serve everybody. Like, hey, I want to help buyers. I want to help sellers. I'm going to help you regardless of, whatever type of situation you're in. Right.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've always been a good reader, especially early on in my career. And what helped me is I read the book. There was a book, I think it sold probably over 2 million copies. It was written by Jack Trout, and I think his name was Al Riaz. And it was a book called Positioning, right? It was the battle for your mind. There's a famous Jack Trout quote, and I might mess it up, but it says something like, the keys to success of every business is to be different in the mind of the prospect, which is what positioning is all about. And I got that, right? Because I was introduced to some very strong positioning statements, but I wouldn't have seen them. I wouldn't have recognized them. Until I understood the principles. I couldn't appreciate. When I saw somebody doing well, I saw them doing well as a result of, man, that's a good position. They're positioned good in the market. I can see why somebody would call them.
I think a lot of people get confused as the tactic or the vehicle for delivering the message. Like for they see other agents being successful and they're like, oh, well, they're sending out lots of postcards. They're doing a lot of direct mail. They're running a lot of, advertising. They're on the radio. I think that people confuse the vehicle for what really makes all this stuff work, which is the value proposition. Like you said, and maybe they don't recognize it up front, that's what's really driving it home is that specific, call to action, that specific value proposition that's really clearly articulated into the market.
Yeah, I mean it's basically being deliberate, right?
Right.
And that's and one word that I want everybody to remember is congruency. You want to be congruent. People who do this really well, and I just think of a couple individuals on Instagram. There's a book called Fascinate. I always reference different books, but if you look at people that you pay attention to, remember, they're getting your attention in the marketplace. Though every post, everything they're doing is really supportive of what got you to pay attention to them in the first place. Like, for example, let's say there's an individual, and I know a very specific individual. I met him about 10 years ago. He's a big personal development person now. He has a concept around, becoming the greatest version of yourself. But when I met him, he was big on Twitter, and he was known for helping people kind of find their voice and leverage Twitter. I mean, this was when Twitter first came out, and he built a huge following on Twitter. And it was really cool watching his brand grow because he went from Twitter to social media to online marketing to really becoming this brand of around being great. And yes, there was a path, and you could see as he became more, as his positioning became more clear, and it became really something around what a large audience had a desire for. He was able to beat that drum and create this huge following of people. And I mean, literally remember when, the guy now is, he's interviewed the top people in the world. I mean, like literally world leaders have flown to his office and been on his podcast. He had one of the top podcasts in the world. But before he did that, it was real clear that he was very intentional about building his brand. And so In real estate, one of the things that, when you think about providing a professional service, it's no different than writing a book, right? When I write a book, if I write a book, for instance, one of the things that I've always been passionate about and I've been known for was getting up early. And this is something that was a part of who I was, right? I had done several events, several keynotes, and a lot of my colleagues and friends would share stories like, hey, one of the phone calls, you're going to get at 4:30 every morning is Mike Reese, calling you. This is other keynote speakers from stage that are friends of mine sharing a story and then just naturally, including me in their story. And I created this brand for somebody. Well, getting up early is part of my success. It gives me a competitive advantage. I believe in it. And there's a lot of disciplines because there's times I don't want to get up early. One day, I was sitting in the back of the room at a conference. Now, listen to this. I had always said, if you snooze, you lose, right? Like if you snooze the snooze button. This guy named Jeremy Mellett, great friend. He was a client and a friend out of Washington State, walks up to me in the back of the room and hands me this book called Miracle Morning. And he said, listen, don't make the same mistake I made and take a year to read this. Well, fast forward a year later, in that same conference, at that same annual event, the author of that book was on stage. But he wasn't just on stage. We had collaborated and wrote a version, Miracle Morning, for real estate agents, which Zillow ended up picking up and recommending as the number one book recommended for reading for real estate agents. That was an opportunity that found me based upon a personal brand that I had put out there authentically over time. And I had posted many, many times in the morning, right? And there wasn't a lot of, I'm not saying that there wasn't a lot of people doing it, but it was before, Jocko came out and started posting his watch every morning at 3 or 4 a.m. And, there's some other influencers and leaders that, kind of put their flag in that same department. But I was able to write a book about it, right? Really, and kind of capture that. And that's something that regardless, that book was not originally for real estate, but I saw and understood the principles in the book, like you snooze, you lose, and all of the disciplines that are required to be in to make a real estate agent successful. I saw the path on how to deliver that to a real estate agent, especially a real estate agent who's maybe struggling because in their previous business, they got up because they had to. Now they don't have to anymore.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to get up, but it's hard to get up in the morning when you had a closing fall apart. When the person you thought that was going to buy a house calls you up the night before and says they decided not to go through and they want their option money back. That next morning's hard to get up. And so motivation is easily lost and hard to find. And I know that it's through developing that. And so that was something that led to then writing the book. And I'm saying books because books, you have an overarching positioning statement, for your business, for your professional service, but that doesn't mean that it has to embrace everything. It has to relate to the customer. In that scenario, that book was for a very specific customer. Later writing one called Inside Sales Predictability, which was about getting predictability in your business for agents that were frustrated from having a closing, then not having a closing, having a closing, not having a closing. We launched a partner program in 2016. We had a bone to pick, and we wanted to focus our time, energy, and effort on the listing side of the business. Very specific listing side of the business. Agents who wanted more listings. Agents who wanted to get to a minimum of 50 deals a year with personal productivity. But learned a lot, which inspired Woods and I to write Digital President because there were things in that process that made it all work, that lived outside of just having, a demand strategy. There was a bigger picture. And again, like this gentleman, Lewis, that kind of found his over time, it was with intention of organizing and really crafting it. And so for me, with my real estate professional services, I would have to say, one of the top agents in the entire world, number one agent in his market, calls me up. Guy's doing about $4 million in commission. And this is the questions they ask. And they're telling me literally their positioning statement yesterday, Woods. Mm-hmm. And I can show you on a text where it says, I got a text yesterday from an individual who's getting beat in a market out of nowhere. They were dominant and a big influencer came into their market and they're losing clients to them. And so they put me on a group text and I said, listen, this is my wheelhouse. This is what I love to do. But I said, can you please, the first thing I said is, can you please tell me what the competitors value proposition is and what's their promise. How are they positioned in the market? Because again, I want to do competitive research. If somebody else has your customer, what promise are they making that individual? Now, and this individual owned a brokerage, so they were losing agents to another brokerage, right?
Right.
Now, this other brokerage wasn't offering anything different than they have to offer, but they certainly were not being congruent in their positioning. And there was a very specific part about their target market. And I'll say it, they all speak the same language, which is not English, right? They all spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
These individuals were dominating in the Spanish market, dominating. But somebody of influence came into the market and they had a competitor. And I said, listen, the only reason they're beating you is because they figured out a way. And they had already said it to me. If you read their text on what they said, it was very clear. They've come up with a better way of articulating their value. And as a result, these individuals are having people who have been having almost year conversations, very intimate conversations of coming to work with them, now deciding to consider going somewhere else because of and it's not for more value, it's because of better marketing.
This is a great conversation, because the reality is, I think that, you can find yourself defaulted into a positioning, right? You might end up serving a market that is not your ideal client, or you might just be, you fall into kind of a niche and you end up getting referrals in that niche. In this example, maybe they were just, they were Spanish speaking. And so they would get referrals and they were kind of penetrate that community because they had a little bit of a foothold there
by default, because of the differentiation from them was they knew how to speak Spanish and others didn't.
Right. So, but when somebody comes in, when a competitor comes into your market and is intentional about taking advantage of that specific market, crafting message, talking directly to that market, positioning as the go-to person for those specific individuals, that's when the game changes. So I was having a call yesterday with a girl who she first of all, she did a good job her first year. She closed 20 transactions in her real estate business, but she fell into the niche of first-time homebuyers. Which is fine. It's a great niche, right? We've helped somebody become number 2 in their state just by serving that niche alone, doing over $110,000 a month just by serving that niche. However, she desired to work with a different type of client. She wanted to transition over to listings, and she just felt like she couldn't make that switch. She actually told me, bro, that she had lost out on a listing, and one of her clients had said, "Oh, I didn't know that you could sell homes. I thought that you just helped people buy houses."
And there are people that do that.
Yeah.
And they do really well. But if that's not what you want, then you have to reposition.
You have to reposition. You have to be intentional about creating that. And what's crazy is, like, when you start telling the market exactly who you are, exactly what you're known for, who you help, how you help them, what the promise is in the marketplace. It's amazing how you can actually start to attract business versus just chasing business or taking whatever comes your way.
And one thing I want to point out, that this, when we say it's in everything you do, if you're watching this video, if you're listening to this video on a podcast, if you're watching it, you'll see that. You'll see the introduction to this podcast. You'll see a lot of the times, we have this thing called listing class, right? And it'll be like, hey, listen, my name is Michael Reese. I'm a digital marketer. I'm a real estate agent, and I'm going to coach, right? So, the framework for a positioning statement is, it's an introduction. Who are you? What community do you serve, right? I help real estate agents, teams, and brokerages build their business, right? And then how do I do it? Well, for us, we do it through leveraging digital marketing. We do it through funnels, or you could call it online marketing. These are the words that matter, right? So if it could be content marketing, it could be even more specific. We do it through helping people build YouTube channels. We could be very specific, or we could be broad based upon what it is that we actually do. And we can layer in situations. But the main thing you always want to do is you want to identify your core audience big problem, right? And this was, we call it the BAP. It's called the big ass problem. And I use that that word just to illustrate the point of, what's keeping your ideal customer up at night? What's the rock in their shoe, right? And you have to be able to address their skepticism and really in doing that in a way where you're tying it to an enemy, if you will, right? Like, they say cast stones at their enemy, justify their failures, right? If you want to build a following, you have to be polarizing. And polarizing, it doesn't always, let me hyphenate something. It doesn't always work. But if I was an agent like the one that you were talking about, Woods, the young lady, first of all, to all of my, agents who are already at EXP, one of the things that you have is you have express offers. You have institutional buyers that will buy homes. Now, that doesn't mean that every home qualifies, but a good positioning statement is going to get that consumer to say, I wonder how that works. How is he or she able to do that?
Yeah.
And so I remember years ago where I walked into a room at the Dallas Cowboys office. Jay Kinder was in there writing on a board, and he said, "Hey, man, tell me what you think about this." And, he was working on crafting a positioning statement. And so if you understand express offers where, it's no different than the iBuyer programs. What are they? They're Open Door, Offer Pad, Zillow offers. All of these people make these offers on homes. There was an interview with the founder of Open Door, and he said, "Listen, we work with agents. We would love them to bring all their listings here and let us make an offer on them." Well, if that is true, if you can get compensated, whether a local area mover, an out-of-town buyer, or an institutional buyer buys the home, I don't think your client cares where the money comes from. I mean, in theory, right? In theory,
Right.
When they're selling their home, if they're going to get the best offer and it's an institutional buyer's willing to make a better offer or do it on a timeline that's more important to them than money, where they're, maybe they're trying to get out of town and timing's more important than net, maybe it's something you should consider. But if you're known for helping your clients get up to 3 offers in 72 hours, right? Or if you have a program, right? An immediate buyout program, which is what I had. I had the immediate buyout program. It was all over my Hummer. And that's what I wanted to be known for, was to skip the traditional way and hassles of selling a home. Let's get offers quickly, because every day your home is on the market, it is depreciating in the perception of value in the marketplace. A home will receive a higher offer with less days on the market than it will with more days on the market. And so I was able to articulate when someone would ask, well, how does this work and why is it important? Well, listen, we know that X% of all homes, 32%, I'm just making up numbers now, but just follow me here. 32% of all the homes that list that do sell in the first 30 days. So if we're going to sell and we're going to have a third of a chance doing it in the first 30 days, then we would like to create a multiple offer situation in order to help you get up to 18% more than the methods used by traditional agents. So what I would like to show you, if and now you're tying it in to being able to get behind the door, but you have this marketing piece, you have this header, you have this video. Every time you shoot a video, maybe somebody calls you and says they would like to know, the mistakes when selling, the 3 things to avoid when selling a home with a pool, right? Maybe one of them is don't sell it in the winter if you don't have to, right? Whatever they are. You're going to teach this on a YouTube video, but before you do, you talk about this program, right? If you haven't taken advantage of our immediate buyout program, receive up to 3 offers and 72 offers on your house, skip the traditional real estate selling method and skip the hassle. Get your home sold fast for up to 18% more than the methods used by traditional agents. If you like me to show you how, make sure you DM me in the description below. Now, where were we? Oh, talking about the 3 things when thinking about selling your home with a pool. First of all, let me talk about homes with a pool. Boom, right? And so, again, a lot of the times people don't realize that one video, if that's in your video, if that's on your email signature, if that's everywhere that you put stuff, then when people see you over time, they think, man, hassle-free sell. right? And it could be called the hassle-free sale program, right?
Yeah, home of the hassle-free program or hassle-free sale program. You're associating yourself, you're branding yourself not just as a real estate agent or a realtor. Everybody knows a realtor. You are the author of, the creator of, the home of the program that's designed to get the result that or solve the problem that they have.
Yeah, and it really comes down to being downright passionate, right? Like for me, one thing that really I was passionate, and this is going to sound so crazy. It really is, but I'm going to tell the truth. I was passionate about homeowners putting warranties on their house. I'd sold 2 homes, and one of the homes that I sold it, believe it or not, I was in a position where the air conditioner dude went out. It was going to be like an $8,000 repair. In Texas, you got to fix it. But my home was on the market. Somebody said to me, well, did you put that seller policy coverage on it? And I said, I believe I did. I do it for all my other listings. I'm selling it. Let me ask Kathy. So I went to Kathy and asked her if she had put the coverage. And she told me that I had told her to, and I had just not remembered. I was, really, really busy. Come to find out, they replaced my air conditioner. My business partner had a very expensive oven. I mean, like one of these ones that are like these $10,000 ovens. Same thing. They replaced his oven. And so for me, I was passionate about that. So if I have a buyer's advantage program where I can help a home buyer, avoid paying up to tens of thousands in unnecessary expenses, right? When buying a home, I can also leverage that same thing on the sell side, right? So I'm looking for those things that I'm passionate about, the things that I'm currently doing, the things that I truly believe in. Here's the thing. People, when they do business with you, they do business with you based upon you having a shared belief system, right? There's a book called Biology. People who don't buy from you don't believe in you. But if they believe in you because they share your beliefs, then you can move them, especially if you're out there yelling from the rooftop to the marketplace what you believe.
Yeah.
Right. So it's about identifying, first of all, what market are you going after? What are the problems and the skepticisms and what makes you different, and crafting that all into a positioning statement that is simple. It was told to me is that it's like if somebody were to hand you most people's positioning and branding and their value proposition is like, this is what it was described to me. It's like someone giving you 8 bowling balls, all covered in Vaseline. And so you got all these bowling balls slipping around, and it's like they're just dropping things. You want it to be like a handle to a suitcase where it's so easy to grab and take with them and literally give it to somebody else, right? Because when they hear somebody and they've went through the process with you and did business under the positioning and you delivered on the promise, then when they recommend people, they're not recommending a realtor. They're going to recommend you because of who you are and what you, and how you provide the value, right? So like, man, you should really talk to Michael Reese. He has a hassle-free sellers program, and man, he helped us sell our home for 11% more than the average dollar per square foot in our neighborhood. We in fact sold it in 7 days, right? Had 2 offers in 7 days. And so again, if you're helping clients get multiple offers and you're not using those testimonials to back up your validate what makes you different or what your promise is, then you're just missing the opportunity because you're living transactionally trying to get a commission instead of trying to build a cohesive, comprehensive marketing program that at the root, what Warren Buffett says, 50% of your success is your ability to articulate your durable competitive advantage. Why someone should choose you over all competitors are simply over the option of not doing anything at all. And if you can take the time to craft that through that framework of, understanding how you introduce yourself, who are you, what community do you serve, right? And what makes you different, being polarizing in a way where you understand the situations of your ideal customer, you understand their BAP, their big ass problems. And if you can do that and tie it to, what makes you different, it's extremely powerful. And, everything that you do will be improved.
Yeah. And man, it's interesting. I think, especially with the importance of, social media, of being able to get messaging out into a marketplace. I mean, let's just be real. The the primary mechanism for delivering messages, marketing messages to the marketplace right now is going to be social media. It's going to be YouTube, it's going to be, Facebook, Instagram, this is where people are spending their time. And when you are clear on when you're clear on this positioning statement, you have a way to start every video. You have a clear call to action to tell somebody to go take a specific action for every piece of content you ever post. You have a clear direction on what type of content to post. Do you just post a picture of the couple in front of the house saying congratulations to the Smith family for buying a house? It was a smooth process. Or do you say congratulations to the Smith family for selling 21% above the neighborhood average sales price? And with a call to action of, sell for up to 18% more, click here. If you're thinking about selling, see how we can help you sell for up to 18% more. So this is like woven into everything you do. And when you take the time to just do this little bit of strategy up front, it makes all of the tactics infinitely easier. Like, this is like the foundational work. And what's crazy is this is the stuff that people skip. And the reason people skip it is because it requires thought. It requires thought. It requires research. It requires you getting really clear and, versus just, running around like a chicken with your head caught off in your business. It's taking a step back to work on your business and just get really clear, man, who do I want to serve? And not even just, I like the idea of like, even just thinking like 5 years from now, who do I want to be serving? What does my ideal business look like? What types of transactions am I doing? Am I only listing properties? Do I have buyer opportunities that are being passed along to other agents? Am I only working with a specific type of client? And if so, what does my promise need to be? How do I start talking to those people now so I can build that future that I really want?
Yeah, and the main thing that I start with, Woods, every single time that helps me is I start with the research, right? Analyze your competitor. Where does your business right now stack up or really fall short? You want to know the answers, and you want to make sure you can see the gaps in the service, right? And you want to know where they are. Like, if you see somebody that's, a competitor dominating. Every time you drive through a neighborhood, it's a neighborhood you want to take over, but someone else is taking it over already. Or maybe there's a luxury agent. Sun Tzu? He had a famous quote. We put it in. We actually wrote a white paper on positioning a long time ago. I remember it was in there, but it's when you know both yourself as well as your competitor, you are never in danger. To know yourself and not the others gives you half a chance of winning. Knowing neither yourself or your competitor puts you in a position to lose. So if you want to win, if you want to be in a situation where you can win, then you have to be able to look at the market from your ideal customer's eyes and look at what, if your ideal customer is, we're going to go luxury. We're going to go like a $2 million home seller. And we're going to look at who's got most of the $2 million home sellers in this market. When they look at them and they look at you, what makes both of you different? And just because somebody is dominating the market, and this has been demonstrated from the beginning of time in all marketing, is they don't own that exclusively. It's rented, and the rent's due every day. And you can come in and take it over if you have the ability to do the work. And the work is strategic. And I'll tell you, there's times where Woods and I have worked on it for a long time, and our goal was to do something tactic and get to a result that should have taken 6 hours, and it took 26 hours because we spent 15 of them working on the brand, on the positioning, whether that was personal or the product. And that was really getting to and I'll tell you, that's where we start every single time. And we don't move off of the ICP. We don't, because the ICP is going to drive what competitive research we do. And it's going to be also a factor in how we then position ourselves in that market to that customer based upon that product, that service, how we want to be seen.
Yeah. The coolest thing is, man, is you just have so much control over this. You have so much control over your life. You have so much control over your business. It's really just a decision. Who do you want to help? What community do you want to serve? What makes you different? What are the situations they're facing? What are the solutions you can provide? What's their big problem? What skepticisms do they have? And what words do you want to own in the mind of the consumer? Think through those things. Start to look at your competitors, see what they're doing to be successful. And the time to start on this is now. The time to start is always, it was yesterday to be building the business that you want. And if you don't have clarity on some good places to start, you want to see a couple of the niches and some of the value propositions and ways we've positioned in the market. Listing Class is a good resource. Go to listingclass.com. It's a free class. And that will kind of show an integrated, marketing approach from the value proposition, the positioning in the marketplace, all the way through to a funnel, all the way through to campaigns, all the way to closed transactions. And so anyways, quick plug there.
Yeah, and we do have a 21-page white paper, and it's titled Understanding the Power of Your Brand and How to Position It for Huge Success. It goes through all the questions, literally the framework, fill in the blank, a framework that's principle driven. We put this together. This was literally a document that we used, that we filled in the blank, that then we went back and turned it into white paper. So if you're watching this on YouTube, then you can go to the descriptions below and we'll put a link to it. If you're not watching it on YouTube, head over to youtube.com/Michael Reese and check out this episode and get your copy there. And man, I know that's a lot to take in, but man, it is important. If you get the guide, the positioning guide, how to position yourself for success, if you follow those exercises, I promise you this, it's going to stop feeling like you're chasing, and your business will start feeling like you're attracting. And it's a better way to do business. It's way better to attract people for you who do business with you because of who you are instead of for what you do. If people do business for what you do because you're in real estate, that's not the same as people doing business with you for who you are. So make sure you go check it out. And like we always say, the best life to live is a life by strategy. If you haven't hit subscribe, make sure you subscribe. If you like this episode, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications. We put out new content every single week, so you'll be notified. And if you like it, also hit that like button. Thank you, guys.